When I returned home from the service, I was in the Coast Guard for 4 years. I got back home to Benicia, and my father said he's got a nice lady over here helping him in the garden. She's a lovely lady, and she works at the Benicia Arsenal. So I said, gee, I'd like to meet her, because I worked at the Arsenal before I went into service. So when she came home from work from the Arsenal, she got off the bus, and Papa called her over, introduced me to her. Her name was Bernice Harvey, and her picture's in that book, the Arsenal book. Her name is, like I said, Bernice, and right away I kind of fell for her. She was a nice-looking lady, and here I'd been away for 4 years, and I was kind of, looking for a nice partner to visit and to go out and have a picnic with. So she come into Papa's, and we had a glass of wine together. And Papa poured the wine out. We had the wine, and we drank the wine. And afterwards I said, do you want to go for a little ride? We'll go out to Blue Rock Springs or someplace. And she said, well, let me go home and clean up. So she went over to her little apartment, Papa's place, and she got it cleaned up, come back. She looked nice. She had a beautiful little blouse on and a skirt. She looked sharp. She had a beautiful shape anyway. I couldn't help noticing her that way. She was very attractive. So she got in the car. I had that Model A Ford at that time. We got in the car, went out to Blue Rock Springs. On the way out, we stopped, and we talked a little bit. She told me about her life, where she's from Arkansas. She came out here to work in the Arsenal. What she was before that, she was what they call a practical nurse. She worked in a nursing home. But then when the Arsenal looking for people, she went to work there. So we went together for a while, and in the meantime, I had Mama come down from Mount Shasta, where she was living. And she came down, met Bernice, and she liked her. Bernice was a little older than me. She was 33 at that time, and I was 27. And Mama said she's a very nice lady. She's, a little older than you, but age doesn't make a difference. All depends how you feel about one another. I told Mama, I said, Mama, I like this lady very much. And so she says, if you're serious about it, if you think about getting married, I want you to come to Mount Shasta, and I'm going to put on a big party for you kids. I says, great. Mama, in the meantime, she had this beautiful dinner house, Italian dinner place in Mount Shasta. She introduced the ravioli Italian dinner up there way back in the 20s. So we went up there. Mama had this big party. We had people from all over town that knew me. As I said before, I grew up there going to school before I came to Benicia. So we had a nice reception. We come back to Benicia, and Father Muller was a priest at that time, most wonderful fellow in the world. And he told us, he says, you're the type of people I like to marry because you're dedicated to one another, and I see you love one another, and you'll never go negative on one another. So Father Muller married us. That morning, we were to go to the church. In those days, H Street, where Papa had his little cabins, there were no sidewalks. There were wooden boards. They were sidewalks, but they were made of wood. So we went up to the church. We walked up there. The reason we walked is because Papa had made this grappa. I don't know what you think this is, but it's a brandy. It's made with the leavings of the wine grapes after you crush them. You put them out in the sun to dry. And then you take the dry grapes, you put them in a still, and you make what they call grappa. You could call it brandy if you wish, but this is more potent. And Papa says, okay, before you go up, you're nervous. I says, yeah, I'm nervous, Papa. He says, you better have a shot of this. He gave me a shot of grappa, and then he said, well, he says, maybe one more, just one more. So I had 2 shots of brandy. Then we proceeded to go to the church. I got up to the church, and I was feeling no pain. I was feeling great. And we got up there, Father Muller, he looked at me with a little twinkle in his eye. He knew darn well I had something in me besides, just my good thoughts. So he said, okay, we're going to perform the ceremony. And he went through the rituals. And he, as usual, they would, you take this woman to be your wife and so forth. We went through the whole thing. I said, I do. And I was practically rocking in my shoes. And he says, okay. And he turned to Bernice, and she was a little bit, I think she was a little bit embarrassed at that point. But everything worked out. She says, oh, we're doing fine. And then at the end, I placed the ring. I had a time trying to find the right finger to put the ring on. Finally, I found the right finger to put the ring on, and everything was fine. And then he said, you may kiss the bride. I kissed the bride. I gave her a big smoocher. People started giggling out in the pews of the church, and I'm telling you, it made me feel, I don't know, I felt so good, though. I felt like I was in another world at that point. I was so happy to have my woman, and I know she liked me too. And we went on. We lived together. Well, what do young couples do? And finally, later on, we had children. We had 2 daughters. We had, the first one her name is Paula. We wanted the boy. Papa says you got to make a boy. I didn't have the boy, so my name was Paul, so we called her Paula. And then the second daughter came, and Bernice says, I'd like to name her after my brother. And I says, okay. His name was Carl, so we called her Carla. So we had our kids, Paula and Carla. I'm having a wonderful life. And Kiki, you've been so lucky, you son of a gun. So I want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I had a good shuffle in this life. That's all I can say. So God bless you, and God bless Benicia. And like I mentioned before, if you live in Benicia, you're one of the luckiest people in the world. Bye-bye. I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my hometown, because those dear hearts and gentle people will never ever let you down. They read the good book from Friday to Monday. That's how the weekend goes. I've got a dream house I'll build there one day, with picket fence and rambling road. I'm always welcome each time that I go there, and my happy heart singing like a clown.